So I've spotted a little Italian fellow who likes to collect gold coins and a panzer tank. Roger, over. Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. And as today is an aviation special, I'm giving you a little sneak peek of some of the gifts for the next Seiko Saturday giveaway. And I'm going to give away some beautiful Corgi because, well, in my opinion, I think Corgi is the best. This is a beautiful metal die-cast model of a Hurricane. I've also got, this is brand new, and this is from my personal collection, P47D Thunderbolt. So very excited to give away. And not only that, I'll be giving away with those a copy of Longitude. I've ordered as many as I can find. I literally am buying them up. I just think this story is integral to the history of horology, and if you've been an ardent fan or viewer of the show, you will know of my love for this story. Well, it's a true story. There is the man himself. Let's just have a quick butchers, and there is John Harrison, the inventor of the marine chronometer that changed the world history. So just, you know, I think this is the perfect gift for a Seiko Saturday. Anyway, I'll be announcing the winners Monday, Tuesday, something like that, so stay tuned. So yeah, very exciting. Don't forget to submit. You can still submit Seiko Saturday posts in the group and on Instagram, so keep doing that this Saturday. Anyway guys, let's roll the intro and get into today's video. Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. Now today I'm going to do another top 10 list. I haven't done one of these for absolutely donkeys, and as I just received my World War II Amiga pilot's watch, I thought, well, why don't I address my top 10 aviation and pilot's watches for under $1,000. Now guys, do bear in mind that, you know, this is only a top 10 list. This is in totally my own opinion. I'm sure you're going to nominate 1,000 watches, and there are thousands of watches that deserve to be in this top 10, but this is my own favorites. If you have some nominations, please do share them down below in the comments. And I know there's going to be, like, you know, 100 watches that I regret not putting in this list, but I tried to do my best. Oh, and I've got to do wristwatch check. Now today, I was going to wear the Amiga, but then I thought, no, you know what? I'm going to wear the Timex. This is the Navy Harbor. And the reason why I'm wearing this is because I feel this is an excellent example of an affordable pilot's watch. And I believe this is about $130, a quartz piece. I did review it, have a look back. Beautiful mid-century, very classic and tastefully done design. So let's get on with the list. And at number 10, it is a channel favorite, certainly a favorite of mine. It's the Hamilton Khaki Pilot Day Date Automatic. Well, now Swiss, but then used to be American, hugely iconic watchmaker. Flieger inspired dial, kind of B-type dial, yet modernized in that fundamentally Hamilton way, extremely elegant with some extra curves. Made famous, of course, by Interstellar, and I wish, again, Hamilton, if you're watching this, you need to release the Murph watch. That was that was so gorgeous. Unfortunately, they didn't release it, but you can buy this piece. Now, I have reviewed it. What I love about this particular watch is the attention to detail. You got the day and the date, and that beautiful day, I think, is at 12, and the date at 6. Lovely symmetrical dial. I think it's a fantastic balance of Hamilton, modern, but still with some of their traditional style cues, brought bang up to date. It is a little bit larger, 42 millimeters. We got an ETA in there, the caliber H40, which is fantastic sapphire glass. We get a display back. I love the semi skeletonized hands so you can see information as they pass various scales and parts of the dial. Very, very clever. A wonderful watch. I adore it. And I think they're around about 500 or around about, I think you pick them up about 600, around that kind of mark. Incredible value for money. They are water resistant to 100 meters, I believe. Okay, number 9, another channel favorite, and I came so close to buying one of these. It is, of course, the Glycine Airman. Now, where do we start with the Glycine Airman? For me, my favorites are the Base 22, which is a more modernist design. For something more traditional, harking back to the 1953 original, because it did predate even the Rolex GMT Master by 1 year. Definitely an iconic watch. Invicta now own Glycine. They used to be independent. Well, they were independent when I reviewed them. Has this changed the situation? I don't think so. You can still buy a lot of pre-Invicta Glycine Airmans. The brand now has a little bit more finance, a little bit more muscle behind it to keep producing these wonderfully iconic and original watches. So what makes them unique is this bi-directional rotating bezel. So the bezel obviously keeps track of a second time zone that locks using a second crown at the 4 o'clock. If you want to go more traditional, there's the Airman, I think it's the number 1, that is 36mm. There's also the DC4, which is probably my favorite. The great thing is you get a screw down crown, water resistant to 200 meters, huge military following, very toolastic aesthetic to them, no nonsense. And depending on which model you go for, you can get some really outlandish designs or some very mid-century classic designs that are, well, they're timeless classics, forgive the pun, but anyway. And inside again, we've got another ETA, this time powered by the GL293, sapphire glass, of course. And I gotta say, right now is a great time to buy them because they seem to be heavily discounted. And I would snap them up. I really would snap them up. The DC4 is a little bit big at 42mm, but having said that, it doesn't wear too large. So the Base 22 is also 42mm. They wear remarkably well. I reviewed the one with the luminous dial, which is just stunning, with a PVD case and display back, which was also tinted. The glass was tinted with a completely blacked out movement. Very unique. What I love about the Airman is just the sheer amount of variety within the range. Very cool watches indeed. Okay, moving on to number 8, and we had to have a German watch. Now, I would have loved to add the Sinn 104, which, as you know, is a favorite in my collection. Where is it? Actually, I've got it right here today on my Lucky Zulu. Unfortunately, they are about 1,200, 1,300, I think, these days. So a little bit out of the price range. I do recommend, if you are considering one, it is worth that extra little push. But I had to put a Sinn in here. I'm going to be a little cheeky and put 2 Sinns in here. So we've got the Sinn 556i and the Sinn 556A. The difference is the A stands for the version with the numerals on the dial. So we have clear 12, 3, 6, and 9. Very simple 3-handers with a little date, but what you do get is that Sinn quality. And I've said this before, I equate the build quality, the finishing, the amount of attention to detail easily to, you know, luxury brands like Omega. They are just incredibly well made. The case is completely satinized, down to business tool watch. Stainless steel again, of course, sapphire glass. Inside we do get, I think it's the Silita SW200. Sinn do regulate them. They do all kinds of testing. They drop test them. They pressure test them. And this is what I'm talking about, you know, that German quality, that German attention to detail. It is slightly smaller at 38mm, which is just wonderful. You get drilled lug holes, screw down crown. I think the water resistance, let me just check here. Yeah, 200 meters, yeah. This is why I have the notes, because my memory is terrible. But yeah, wonderful automatic watch. I love the sword hands, very, very legible. We do get a display back with a lovely customized rotor. It has anti-reflective coating as well, which I'm not sure if the Glycine Airman does. I'll have to double check that. Guys, do fill me in. But anyway, apparently the movements are top grade chronometer level. For $1,000, yeah, it's definitely worth it. Incredible performance, incredible durability. I love Sinn. Yeah, they're probably my favorite German brand. I've got to be honest. Okay, moving on to number 7 and our first Annie Digi watch, the Citizen Skyhawk. This is an old favorite of mine. I actually had a Citizen ProMaster. I had one before the channel and they are incredible. They are larger watches, but many people don't know that the Citizen aviation watch, especially the Nighthawk and the Skyhawk, go all the way back to early 90s. The current lineup has been updated recently with the Skyhawk. What you get for the money, and this is about, I think around about $400, is just insane. So you get, you know, the digital display underneath the analog display, your rotating bezel with every scale imaginable, very busy watches. 200 meters water resistant. With the new Skyhawks, in comparison to the ones from the 90s, they introduced Eco Drive, which is just fantastic. I haven't owned an Eco Drive watch for a while. I've owned several before I had a channel. Wonderful technology, solar powered. They can run something ridiculous by 6 months with just a full charge. Incredibly accurate, obviously, you know, made in Japan. So they have, let me just list you the features. They have hour, minutes, seconds, atomic timekeeping in 43 cities, world time, perpetual calendar, 100th of a second chronograph, power reserve indicator, multi-alarms, 12-hour and 24-hour formats, and of course GMT. It does everything. Now, the Citizen Skyhawk AT, the previous version, which is getting a little bit dated. I see them all the time. For some reason, especially, well, obviously on pilots, but also I've noticed a lot of law enforcement tend to wear these watches. So we have a mineral glass there, which is its only downfall. But then again, you know, it's $400. I'm pretty sure you can upgrade them with sapphire, but you'd have to do that, you know, aftermarket. The new updated version, I really do love the design. They've modernized it. They've cleaned up the dial. Get it in a variety of different color schemes, different color accents. It is extremely busy, but there's so much to look at and it's very enjoyable. Will you use all those functions? Probably not, but you know, I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. Let's move on to number 6. Oh, and it's another favorite of the channel, the Fortis Cosmonautis on a bracelet, and you can get these for just a smidgen under $1,000. Now, this is basically the day-date three-hander version of the chronograph that is famously issued to astronauts for the Russian space program. Now, as you guys know, I've covered Fortis a few times now. Still independent for over 100 years. They are responsible for huge development strides in the evolution of the automatic watch, also some of the early water-resistant watches. They are integral. If you're a true horologist, you will know about Fortis, and they're amazing, fundamentally important contributions to the history of the wristwatch. But anyway, aside from that, they make fantastic watches to this day. So this is the day-date version, automatic of course, ETA based, stainless steel with a very clear, legible Liga type A, I would say, inspired design. Little pop of color with that orange second hand. A screw down crown, 200 meters water resistant. Satinized finish again, in keeping with that toolastic look. It's 42 millimeters, so a little bit on the larger side. Sapphire glass, of course. You get a double anti-reflective coating as well. This is a great way to enter into a historic line of watches without breaking the bank. You also get a unidirectional dive time style bezel, which is very useful, of course. Incredible quality. I highly recommend Fortis. So number 5, and this is another channel favorite. It is the Stowa Liga. Now, Stowa were one of 5 companies contracted in World War II to make the official Liga watches for the German Luftwaffe, and they have been going, I think, since 1927 from the Black Forest in Germany. They offer a wonderful range of watches, not just aviation watches, but I had to add their classic Liga in the mix because most of them are under $1,000. What I love about Stowa is that they're really embracing the 21st century. Their online boutique ships worldwide, and you can customize and specify the watch. Different sizes, 36mm, 40, and larger. You can have a display back, you can have a choice of either automatic or manual wind. You can even have the buckles engraved, different straps. You can have a sterile dial without the logo, or you can have the logo on it. You can have a date complication at the 6. You get a choice of A dial, B dial, different colored dials. They got the blued hat. So they take an archetype and they modernized it with customizability and just a very forward-thinking way of doing business. I love Stowa. I will always feature Stowa. I'm going to review lots more Stowa. There's so much Stowa to discover. They're a brand that get me excited about watches. They're very tastefully done, and as expected with the German brand, you get that quality. It's a classic, always has been, always will be. So that was number 5. Let's move on. Number 4. Well, like we had Stowa, we had to have Laco in there. Laco is one of the 5 companies that I just talked about. Laco are still making the Fliegers. I mean, they have modern watches. They have a whole fantastic range. But to me, Laco are the most faithful to the original designs. If you want to get historically accurate, true to form Flieger that is almost unmistakable from the ones made during the war, the quality's there, the attention to detail. They have several special editions, a lovely variety of different dial colors, that authenticity of them being one of the 5 companies, hugely important. Very underrated and not discussed enough, I feel, on YouTube. I also have recently reviewed them. They name all their watches after different cities in Germany. I reviewed the, what was it? The Friedrich Staffen, I think it was. And I think actually out of the 5 companies, they're the most affordable. So definitely had to be in this list. So at number 3, it's got to be the Oris Big Crown ProPilot Date. Now this is the most affordable Oris in the ProPilot line. You guys know I love Oris, still independent for over 100 years. Swiss brand, quality is second to none, but also very affordable and one of the great entry levels into Swiss watchmaking. Now I feel that the ProPilot line gets not as much attention it deserves. The line also has, of course, the hugely important analog altimeter, which was historic and very important for Oris. You can also, nowadays they've even introduced the 111 and the 112 in-house movements to some of the higher-end ProPilot watches, which is just a phenomenal, hugely important, obviously, for their company. Now, this is, I believe, based on a Sellita SW200. It's an automatic, of course, 100-meter water-resistant, very clean, traditional aesthetic. I love the hands, lovely loomed numerals, extremely legible. I love the knurling around the bezel. Comes on a canvas strap, which I just, well, it fits the aviation theme to a T. Very tastefully done. Brushed stainless steel case, sapphire crystal, of course. A nice little pop of red on the seconds hand. The date tucked away at 3 o'clock position. Matte black dial, again to assist legibility. It has a very military aesthetic and actually reminds me a little bit of my, where is it? My little Amiga. You can see traditional aviation style hasn't changed really in, what is it, 80 years. But anyway, so 41mm in size. And what is great about the Big Crown pilots watches, or ProPilots I should say, is the more money you spend, the more complications you can get. The GMT versions, the chronograph versions, sky's the limit, all the way up to the top, like I mentioned, the in-house and the analog altimeter. There's just so much variety. You get that Oris quality, you get a brand you can be proud of. I adore Oris, and it pains me not to have one in my own collection. It will happen again. I think they're slightly overshadowed by, you know, their incredible dive watches and dress watches, but it has to be said that their aviation watches are equally fantastic. Okay, so that was number 3. What's at number 2? it has to be the Citizen Nighthawk. Now, I have also reviewed this watch. Again, Eco Drive powered. It's basically a GMT watch. It has a whole charming character of its own. That GMT hand corresponds to different sections of the dial. You can get it on a bracelet, on a strap. It has a wonderful layout, and I love how they've put a little aeroplane on the tip of that GMT hand. Not only does it look cool, but it also helps to differentiate between the hands and reading the time. The quality you get with Citizen is, and I've always said this, better than Seiko. I think at that price range, Citizen is probably one of the best entry-level brands in terms of their quality. I think the finishing is impeccably done. You're getting an extremely accurate, robust watch that is worn by pilots. There are countless shots of this watch in cockpits all around the world. You just have a look on Instagram, you'll see it. There are several different versions, different colored dials. I love the little pop of red. Also, you got very traditional aviation watch styling tropes, like the 12 and 6 applied to the dial. Has a second crown, I think it's at the 8 o'clock position to operate in a rotating bezel. It doesn't wear that large. It is a really nice size. And what I love is that it's got its own identity. It's not trying to be a Navitimer. It's not trying to be a Breitling Aerospace or something like that. It's very much its own thing. Lovely, large sword, legible hands. Very cool watch indeed. I love it. So what is my number one? Well, guys, you could predict, or you probably guessed. It is, of course, the Seiko Flightmaster, which at the moment, the prices are skyrocketing. I think demand has caught up with supply. Whether they've discontinued it, I don't know, but certainly the white dial version has become quite rare now and difficult to get a hold of. The SNA 411, which actually, where is it? Here it is. I still love it. What has not been said that I've said a million times already? Let me just go through again what this watch has to offer. So, it is a Seiko quartz, one of the best Seiko quartz chronograph movements in my opinion. The 7T62. You get a chronograph, of course, you get a date, you get a second time zone shown on a dial at the 6 o'clock with 2 hands. You can also use that as an alarm. The chronograph has a slightly mechanical style sweep to it. It is also a split time chronograph, which is really, really cool. You get screw down pushers, a water resistance of 200 meters, incredible robustness in a very compact size with a domed hardlex crystal. It's about 41, but wears very much like a 40. You get a bi-directional rotating bezel, all the scales you could possibly ever need. A lot of character, that little pop of yellow on the seconds hand, the applied markers, quite subtle lume, but being Seiko's lume, it does glow brightly. Screw down crown, and they are built like tanks. Now, it's not a perfect watch. It does have its downfalls, which I've got to do a 5 loves and loathes of this watch. I really have to. I will do that soon. It just offers so much. Now, these were about $200. I bought mine, I think a year or two ago, and I've owned many of them. I've sold them, I've bought them back, because they just are so lovable. I bought mine for I think about $130. Unfortunately, the price has shot up. I think prices might come down again. I don't know if that's Seiko or distributors trying to manipulate the market or something. And it hasn't really been assisted by me going on and on about them, but I just can't help it. It is an amazing watch for the money. I mean, even if you are paying exorbitant amounts, it's still worth it. To me, it illustrates everything that makes Seiko so good and why they make such amazing watches at this level. The astonishing amount of detail. The dial is exquisite. It even has an applied Seiko logo, and the rings framing the sub-dials, and just the quality of the printing and the feeling of depth and complexity, but yet it just comes together. It's a very charming and endearing watch, and it's a keeper. I'm never gonna get rid of mine. I adore it. I adore it. It's a tough cookie as well, very usable. There we go. So that is my top 10. As I said, I'm sure I've left out hundreds, but unfortunately I have to keep it down to 10. Otherwise this video will, you know, go on for days. Although I'd very much enjoy doing that. But anyway, so thoughts, queries, comments, opinions, all the rest of it down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, found it useful, and as always guys, I will catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao.